let the subcommittee know that we will not be taking any formal action on this piece of legislation today. This is really our opportunity to hear from stakeholders, whether you're for, against the bill, things we can do to make it better. Maybe just by a raise of hands, how many are wanting to speak? Well, we will be limiting it to probably a minute. Hear from the governor's office.
This proposal funds the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund. And the plan is in effect next year. Over $100 million of that will go towards water quality initiatives. Approximately $55 million will go towards outdoor recreation and conservation efforts, and $15 million will be used for local partnerships. Only funds our adult and children mental health system.
I'm here today to express our support for the Invest in Iowa Act as a proposal that would fund the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund. Our mission at Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation is to protect and restore Iowa's land, water, and wildlife. This trust fund would provide a constitutionally protected source of funding that supports things like trails, local conservation partnerships, and water quality initiatives. We have been asking for support of this trust fund for over 10 years.
For Polk County Conservation Board, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Iowa County Conservation System. I'm also the former director of the Iowa Department of Natural Resources and one of the original writers of this back in 2006 and 7. So this is 14 years of coming. This is the most significant resource bill that we've ever seen in natural resources. This puts us firmly at the table and being able to deal realistically with water quality, natural resources, economic development, recreation issues.
I'm here on behalf of NAMI Iowa and the Iowa Mental Health Counselors Association, and we support this bill, specifically Division 5 related to mental health.
Central Iowa Community Services. I am with one of the mental health disability services region. I would like you to consider the amount of money that goes into the system, that we look at some growth and new dollars and not just a replacement of property taxes with sales tax.
The Iowa Taxpayers Association does thank you and support the positive changes to the income tax changes for the individual.
Iowa Association of Municipal Utilities. We are registered in support of this legislation.
Currently the president of the Iowa Conservation Alliance, which is made up of 14 member groups representing about 60,000 hunters, anglers, and trappers across the state of Iowa. We support this bill. We feel it's long overdue.
One of the ways to attract talent to the state is to provide resources for placemaking and making attractive places that people want to come to.
I'm the executive director of the Iowa Catholic Conference, which is the public policy group of the Catholic Bishops of Iowa. We're registered and undecided on the bill. We would certainly encourage the state to follow through on the promises it's making in this bill.
Claire with Iowa Tax Relief, we're registered in favor of this bill.
United Way of Central Iowa, we are registered in favor of this bill.
Business Council is strongly in favor of this proposed legislation. We think that there is a lot to like in this overall package.
I'm the CEO of the Polk County Mental Health Region, and I'm the Executive Director of Polk County Health Services. We administer the mental health region for Polk County. We're thrilled to see a framework being brought forward. We would say it's a good first step. I'll tell you that there's quite a bit of anxiety here in Polk County about the inconsistency in decision making on funding for mental health resources here in our county. It really is time to take a long, sustainable look at how we're funding.
So. Represent Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever. We have been supportive of fully funding the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund since it was voted on in 2010 and passed by a majority of Iowans.
I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa Behavioral Health Association. We represent mental health disorder, substance use disorder, and gambling disorder providers across the state. We believe the Invest in Iowa Act is simply the first step in fixing a system that has not been working as it was intended. And today we have registered in support of this bill.
I'm here speaking on behalf of the Central Iowa Water Trails and in favor of the legislation.
The Iowa Soybean Association Board. I'm here to speak in support of this proposed legislation.
With the Iowa Hospital Association on behalf of Iowa's hospitals, we do fully support this legislation.
And I'm the State Director of the Nature Conservancy in Iowa. Our mission is to protect the lands and waters on which all life depends. I'm here today to speak in favor of the bill because of the funding it provides for the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund.
At the Iowa Farm Bureau, we are currently registered undecided on the bill.
This is game-changing historic legislation, really on a quality of life level that could really level the playing field and open a lot of doors to help us be able to retain young people in the state.
The Iowa Association of Business and Industry.
Iowa State Association of Counties and the Iowa State Association of County Supervisors to testify on Senate Study Bill 3116, the Invest in Iowa Act.
On behalf of the Iowa Pork Producers Association, we are registered in favor of this bill.
I'm with the American Heart Association. We are very supportive of this legislation. We've been a part of the Iowa Water Land Legacy Trust Coalition.
With National Alliance on Mental Illness, I'm the executive director. We absolutely support maintaining the mental health property tax levy. We think it's important to have local investment.
Representing the Sierra Club, we have concerns about this bill. First, it relies heavily on the nutrient reduction strategy, and yet there's no way to measure whether or not the projects that are being funded by this are going to be successful. Not accountable to the taxpayers to make sure that the money is paying off. This bill is a start, but it needs a lot of work, and we think that it needs some significant changes.
I'm here today representing the Iowa Association of Community Providers. We're 130 community-based organizations which serve roughly 140,000 Iowans in need of mental health and disability services. So we're registered for the bill, and we're supportive in particular of Section 10, which discusses and attempts to create more stability for mental health funding.
The Iowa Bankers Association, we are currently registered as undecided.
Children's Hospital, we're specifically interested in the mental health section of the bill. Now we need to fund it. And we've been talking about children's mental health and developing a system for over 20 plus years, and now is the time to take action.
The Iowa Environmental Council. We are currently registered as undecided on the bill. The Iowa portion of the bill has some inconsistencies with the intent of the original formula. There are still some areas that our members have concerns.
We strongly support this Invest in Iowa proposal because of the governor's inclusion of the local conservation partnership program.
I certainly have some concerns about different aspects of the bill, and I'm not even sure where we're at in terms of moving this legislation forward, but it needs some work, but we'll work on it.
This turnout demonstrates the extraordinary demand and need for more investments in mental health and our environmental programs. Where does the money come from for these investments in the mental health system and our environmental programs? I'm concerned about undermining the stable support that's currently available to our mental health system by taking away the local levy. I think that's a mistake. I also, as just a matter of broad tax policy, we're going to shift basically I think what we're paying for by giving people that probably don't need a tax cut. And we're also going to shift more of the funding for state services onto low-income families and seniors. And I think we should take a long, hard look at whether, as a matter of tax policy, we should ask low-income families to pick up a bigger part of the tab. So I've got some pretty significant concerns.
When we first put this together, we had all the divisions that there are right now, and we made this work. Agricultural, natural resources, urban, rural, Democrat, Republican, hunters and bird watchers were working side by side to put this together in a very thoughtful way. I ask that you consider this and move it to the next level.
Close this committee. Thank you.